Hey, Cub fans! Thanks for joining us here on Cubs 24/7, where Randy talks Cubs with delight and unwavering optimism. Today, I'm optimistic, but I'm confused. I think maybe you guys can help. A little therapy session for me. I was sitting, going through in my head the Cubs roster as we speak. Now, as this video is being recorded, it's December 28th. And as of right now, and I just checked it to make sure I was up to date, I was studying the 40-man roster, and we have 17 position players who are currently on the 40-man roster, and I divided them into two categories. The first category is who I think is most likely of the group going to be on the opening day roster, and there's 10 of them, and I'll just walk you through them so you can get a feel for it. Ian Happ, Pete Crow Armstrong, Talkman, Saya, Nico, Christopher Morel, Patrick Wisdom, P. Wizzy, Dansby, Jan, and Miguel Amaya. So those are the 10 guys. You know, we could argue two or three of them. You know, PCA, Talk, could be questionable, and I get that. But those are the 10 guys that I would say, in my mind, based on what we know today, probably going to be in the dugout on opening day, barring injuries, trades, what have you. The other 7, I think, are real question marks. And I'm actually going to take 2 of those 7 and break them down because I think 2 of them are really very similar. The 2 that I'm talking about are Nicky Barrels, and Miles Mastrobuoni. I'm going to break those 2 guys down, but those 2 guys are 2 of the 7. The other 5 are Matt Mervis, Luis Vasquez, Kevin Alcantara, Alexander Canario, and Brennan Davis. So, there's going to be some changes, I understand. But in looking at it, these 2 players, Miles Mastrobuoni and Nicky Two Strikes, Nick Madrigal, very interesting pair. And the more you look at them and the more you break them down, you see there's a lot of similarities. And my question is do we need both on the roster? Are you willing to have one of them? So I want to just take their numbers, break them down, and let's compare and contrast. Have a little fun Cub talk about Miles and Nick Mastrobuoni. Let's start with Miles. Miles is 5'10", and bats left-handed, throws right-handed. He's third base, second base, and can play some outfield as well. Miles has got some versatility. He's a 14th round draft choice in 2016 out of the University of Nevada, Reno. He played with the Cubs last year, and we're going to do Miles and Nick from last year. I know it's going to be a small sample size, but I don't want to do college numbers. I don't want to do minor league numbers. They just don't matter to me. We've had a look at both of them at the major league level. We've seen it with our eyes, and I'll let you see what the numbers tell us from what we have seen in 2013. So Miles Mastrobuoni played 68 games with the Cubs, had 166 plate appearances, had 35 hits, 1 home run. He did steal 14 bases. He walked 14 times and struck out 38. He had an average of 241 with an on-base percentage of 301 and an OPS of 589. So those numbers aren't anything that anybody's going to get real excited about. We know that it is spot duty. It's always difficult for a player to get spot duty and get a rhythm and get his numbers, and we understand that. But that's what Miles Mastrobuoni produced in 68 games in 2023. Miles defensively played pretty well. He played third base 29 times, and that's kind of what I want to focus on because Miles and Nick, I think, are fighting for third base time if either of them get any at all. So let's just talk about both of them at third base. Miles played 29 games at third base in 2023. For a total of 207 innings. In those 207 innings, he had a fielding percentage of .967 and made 2 errors. Nothing great, nothing fantastic, but nothing horrible either. Those are just the numbers that Miles Mastrobuoni produced offensively and defensively in 2023. So let's take that and compare him to what Nick did. Nick, 27 years old. Nick's about a year younger. He's not 5'10", he's 5'8", a little smaller. Nick bats and throws right-handed. Nick was a first-round draft pick and 4th overall in 2018. And if you put any credence into that, Miles was a 14th round draft choice, and Nick was taken 4th overall. So there must have been something there that the scouts liked out of Oregon State in 2018. Nick in 2023 with the Cubs played 92 games, had 294 plate appearances and 71 hits. He had 2 home runs, stole 10 bases, had 10 bases on balls, and struck out 24 times. Had an average of 263 with a 311 on base and a 663 OPS. So, how'd he do in the field? Well, Nick played 72 games at third base for a total of 560 innings, had a fielding percentage of .977 with 4 errors. So if you extrapolate those out, they're really close. I mean, when we talk about production that we're going to get from either Miles or Nick, depending on where you go, I think that they're going to be very similar. So, I mean, who do we like here? Like, if I had to pick one, well, I'm not sure yet. So I took it a step further, and here's how my head worked on Nick and Miles. I just did the old Franklin T and goes, okay, who's better? So let's say speed. Well, I think Miles is faster. I think Miles would give us create more havoc on the base paths. I think he'd be able to steal more bases in critical times for us. So I'm going to give the check mark to Miles in terms of speed. In terms of catching the ball, glove, I think maybe Nick. I think possibly Nick has better hands. I think he's probably a little bit more sure-footed and reliable with his glove. Arm, I think Miles Mastrobuoni's arm's a little better. From what I saw from third base, it seemed like Miles didn't have to gather himself and take 3 or 4 or 5 steps to get momentum. So I believe that Miles Mastrobuoni's arm's better. And also, Miles can play the outfield, I think, because of that arm. On base percentage, well, if you're looking for a guy you want up to just purely get on base, that's probably Nick. I think Nick has probably got a little bit better bat-to-ball skills than Miles. I think he can catch up with some high heat a little quicker. I think Nick is going to put the bat in the ball. So there's the first 4, and there's 2 for each. Slug. Well, I'm going to go with Miles, just based on how it looks to me. The eye test tells me Miles is probably going to get a little bit more power as he gets older, just because of his stroke. A left-handed stroke, it's a little longer compared to Nick's stroke. It's a little more compact. So if I've got to choose, I'm going to give Miles Mastrobuoni the nod in terms of slug. I wrote down durability. Nick has had some trouble staying healthy. So I look back on it and I'm like, well, I feel like in terms of durability, I'm going to pick Miles Mastrobuoni and give him that. So that's my choice for durability. When it comes to versatility, I'm going to probably go with Miles. The way I look at it is they both play third base reasonably well or close to each other, but Miles can play the outfield. But the question I like to ask myself, especially about any infielder, if we need somebody to play a game, an inning, whatever, at shortstop, who are you going to pick? Well, I'm going to put Miles at short over Nick. I think Nick is going to be out of place at shortstop. So if need be, I'd rather have Miles there. So that means Miles can play the 3 infield spots, plus he can play some outfield if you need to. So Miles Mastrobuoni, to me, is the more versatile player. We've got a right-handed hitter and a left-handed hitter. So depending on how the lineup plays out, you could go, well, we're going to need a lefty or a righty coming off the bench. But if I had to pick right now, I would give Miles the advantage because he's a left-handed hitter. Age-wise, they're basically the same. They're a year apart, so they're both coming into the beginning of what their prime should be. So I think that's kind of a wash. So I'm like, well, okay. Well, Miles with speed, Nico with glove. Arm Miles, on base percentage Nick. But it looks to me like Miles kind of comes out on top. He's got about 4 or 5 categories where I gave him the slightest of advantages. So at that point, I was still a little confused. I mean, if you want me to make a choice, who do I pick? Well, I don't know. Let's go a little further. When we take a look at the projections for 2024, we don't learn much. The projections are really close too. The projections have Nick having 370 plate appearances in 2024, scoring 43 runs, having 90 hits, hitting 17 doubles and 5 home runs, hitting .267 with a .324 on base percentage and a .698 OPS, and they project he would steal 8 bases. Okay. Miles' projections are less playing time, 276 plate appearances. In those plate appearances, scored 38 runs. So my math works out that I think he'll score more runs projection-wise. Hits, he'll have 68 hits. He'll have 11 doubles, and he'll have 6 home runs. So there's my theory of Miles showing up with a little bit more slug as we move forward, plays out in the projections. The projections for average for Miles, they project him at 247. So they expect Nick to have a higher batting average. His on-base percentage is a little bit higher as well, just a tick. Miles is at 318 on-base percentage with a 690 OPS. So I'm telling you, it's a dead heat with Miles and Nick. So the question is, we got 2 guys who really, to me, don't differentiate themselves from each other at all. And at the same time, they're both sort of what I would call marginal players, and they're both vying for time at a position that normally requires slug. So I'm not sure here. This is going to be a very interesting situation. Do they keep both? Do they keep one or the other? And if so, which one? And at the same time, does either one of them get time at third? It's going to be very interesting decisions that need to be made here in the next 3 months. And I just thought it was intriguing. So leave your comments down. I'd really like to see what you guys think about our situation with Nick and Miles moving forward into the 2024 season. I imagine we're going to get people sort of all over the board. So kind of fun stuff to talk about. All right, that's it for now. I'll let you get out of here. Thanks, as always, for watching Cubs 24/7. We really appreciate it, and we'll catch you soon. Go Cubs, go.